Gethard show.
Yes.
Hello, Jules. I would say this. It's a lesson we always have to remind ourselves that you learn again and again and again and again. I feel like 90% of the time, no matter what level of improv you're at, when you're struggling with something, you need to remember that improv works because of the person who's up there with you. That's how you get out of your head. I think every single time. The answers are not in your head. Anyway, they're not on the floor when you decide to cross your arms and look down. They're not on the back line when you decide to lean against it and stare at the ceiling because you're so frustrated. You're beating yourself up about the last move. The bottom line is if you're in your head, you're there. The sad part is I don't think you can take yourself out of your head, but your scene partner can. So give over. Because if you're up there with someone and you're taking care of them and they're honor bound to take care of you, they'll get you where you need to go. And you can stop worrying about it. When you're in your head, that is oftentimes, if you are dwelling on it to the point where you're staying stuck there, it's your responsibility. But if you're in your head, it's your partner's responsibility to get you out of there. I know when I'm on stage, like, I think one of the reputations I'm most proud of is that I'm always looking to facilitate. Always looking to facilitate as often as possible. If someone has an idea, I'm like, how do we get it out? What's your idea? Let's get it going, get it going. It's the other person's job. So
that's an
give
interesting,
over, give in, give over.
That's a very interesting answer. I don't think I've heard in any sort of form, because it's like, how do I get out of my head is such a personal question. But the answer really is the scene is in your scene partner and everyone else on stage.
And the scene doesn't start until the second line. That's another thing we often forget. Whatever the initiation is, no matter what you heard in the opening, and we drill initiation so hard in this school, which I'll keep my mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
I'll keep my mouth shut about how hard we drill that. No matter what the initiation is, no matter how brilliantly formed it is, how crystal clear it is, the reaction to it is what sets the pattern. You don't have a pattern until you see how someone reacts to it, and then you can start whipping it back and forth. I'm amazed all over, everywhere. Like, it's weird because now I tend to only teach improv workshops when I'm out of town and I am booked to do them as part of a gig where it's part of what I have to do to get the gig and pay money. But all over the country, I'll challenge you guys. And in your classes, notice this. How often, let's get a suggestion. Someone says the suggestion, and what you have is 8 improvisers looking at the ground or the walls, or just their brows start furrowing as they think. People, their instinct is not to just look at each other. It's amazing. If you start looking for it in your classes, anybody who's out there listening to this, start noticing that. A suggestion gets said, where do people look? It's very rarely at each other. And my guess is that you will notice is the people who do look at each other first tend to be relaxed and tend to be the best ones in the class. I would bet on it more often than not.
I would totally agree. And a lot of times when, even in just like situations, even like the pattern game, the most like regimented situation, I'm constantly saying like, don't look at the ground, look at each other.
Yeah.
And immediately the ideas start sort of bouncing around faster.
We have to always remind ourselves, this doesn't matter. And I'm not saying that in a condescending way. I'm saying that in a way that the best improv show that's ever happened, whatever you've heard was the best show, whether it took place in Chicago or New York, maybe LA at this point. As soon as it was over, it was gone. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. No matter how good it was. So you might as well give yourself permission that no matter how bad it is, it doesn't matter either. It doesn't matter. You could call your mom and say, I had the best the best show ever. Part of why I stopped improvising is because the Stepfathers did a show that I know is the best show I'm ever going to do. And I've been chasing it. I've been chasing it for 12 years. So why am I going to keep doing it? I'll never be that good at this again. That was the peak. And if I called my mom the next day and I was like, Ma, we did this show last night where we did half the show. And then the second half of the show, we did it backwards. We rewound the show and she'd be like, all right. Well, congratulations. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It was at DCM, Mom. All these people who really cared saw it. It was all the stars aligned between the quality of the show and the nature of the audience. She'd be like, I don't give a who gives a shit. Who cares?
Very interesting.
So if it's gonna, it never ever matters if it's bad. So look to each other because that's what you do have. The only thing that you still have afterwards is those people. That's what always kills me. When I was coaching, one thing that would get me, it's like, you can have a terrible show and go to the bar and laugh about it, as long as you're all in it together. But then sometimes maybe somebody makes too many moves or gets a little shitty or cocky, or maybe people bail on each other, or maybe people push and pull at the idea, and then you just get off stage and go in 8 different directions. So you can have bad shows, you can have good shows. Neither one matters. Might as well have good relationships with the people, always, in every case, on stage and off. Take care of each other. Let each other take care of you. It's never about you anyway, so get out of your own head.